So many people right now are saying that this time for Bitcoin is different. You hear it everywhere. People are saying that the last bull market was disappointing compared to previous bull markets, and that a super cycle is right around the corner. That's the exciting narrative. That's what people want to believe. But what if I told you that Bitcoin has done exactly what it has always done? Because when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, Bitcoin hasn't broken its pattern. It has followed it almost perfectly. And that raises a very important question. If Bitcoin has followed the history so far, why wouldn't it continue to do? Right now we are in 2026, which would be considered a midterm year in the Bitcoin cycle. And historically, these midterm years has been the bear market years. If we zoom out to the yearly candles, 2014 was a red year, 2018 was a red year, and 2022 was a red year. And so far, 2026 is also red. Now, one thing that makes people think that this time might be different is the fact that we actually got a red yearly close in 2025 as well. So the argument is basically, okay, so 2025 was a red year, so therefore 2026 is gonna be a green year. But when you actually look at the structure of the cycle, this argument doesn't really hold up. Because if we go back and look at previous cycle, Bitcoin tends to put in the cycle top in the post-halving year in Q4. And what did we just do in this cycle? We topped in Q4 of 2025. We printed a new all-time high before we eventually rolled over, exactly like we have done before. So we have followed the exact same structure so far. Why would this time suddenly be completely different? Now this is where things start to get really interesting, because when you look deeper into these midterm years, a clear pattern is repeating. After Bitcoin puts in its all-time high in Q4, it tends to see a sharp drop early in the year, usually around January or February. We are talking 50% or more to the downside. Then after that initial drop, the market usually finds a local low. And from there, Bitcoin tends to have a strong counter-trend rally. This rally usually brings prices back up to retest the bear market resistance band. And this retest typically happens around March. But here's the key part, and this is important. After this retest, Bitcoin tends to roll over again and continues lower into the deeper phase of the bear market. Now, of course, these dates are not gonna align perfectly, but the structure is extremely similar. So the big question is this: are we seeing something similar right now in 2026? So far, it actually looks really close. We topped in Q4 of 2025. We have dropped close to 50% and look to have found a local low, at least for now. And again, if we compare that to the previous cycles, it looks really close to what happened those times. So if this pattern continues, what can we expect next to happen? Well, based on history, we should expect a counter-trend rally into the bear market resistance band sometime in March. And from where the price is sitting at the time of recording this video, that would represent roughly a 25% move to the upside from here and about 40% move up from the local low. And if we look back at previous bear markets, these counter-trend rallies have ranged anywhere from 33% all the way up to 90%. So again, if everything has followed the same structure each time, why would this time be different? Now, I have talked about before how I believe a counter-trend rally is likely gonna come. And when you look at the current market conditions, it actually makes a lot of sense in my opinion. Because a lot of indicators right now are already showing extremely oversold conditions. And in some cases, some of these indicators are even more oversold at this stage than compared to previous cycles. Let me show you what I mean. This right here is the average Bitcoin holder profit. Historically, when the average holder is sitting on large profits, they tend to take back profits, which adds sell pressure to the market. But when the average holder starts moving down into the blue, meaning they are at a loss, the sell pressure tends to slow down significantly. Right now, the average holder is still in profit, but nowhere near the levels we saw at the top. And if we look back at previous cycles, Bitcoin actually bottomed after the average holder moved into the negative. So naturally the question becomes, are we going to see that happen again? Personally, I think it's likely. But at the same time, I don't think you should rely heavily on one indicator alone. Because one thing I learned the hard way in the bull market was waiting for perfect confidence. I wanted to take way more profits than I actually ended up doing, and that was because I was waiting for one more indicator, one more confirmation, and I ended up missing opportunities. So this time around, I'm not perfectly trying to predict the exact bottom. Instead, I have my DCA plan. I buy at prices I personally believe is cheap, and if the market continues to go lower, I continue to buy, and probably even more aggressively. Now, if we go back to this chart, for the average holder to move into the negative again, Bitcoin will likely need to move closer to the realized price, which is currently sitting around 55k. And interestingly, that level aligns really close with the 200-week moving average. And if you follow Bitcoin sites before, you'll know that this level has historically been a major bear market support level. Every single bear market we have come down to test it. Sometimes it has been the exact bottom. In the last cycle we even went below it. So again, based on the history, it wouldn't be surprising to revisit this level. But again, this is just my opinion. Another thing that I've been looking at is the fear and greed index. At the moment, it's sitting at extremely low levels, similar to where previous bear markets have bottomed. And when you combine that with something like the RSI on the weekly time frame, which is also at historical low levels, you could definitely make the argument that it looks like the bottom might already be in. And look, I'm not saying that's impossible, but when I zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the timing just doesn't quite line up. Because historically, Bitcoin bear market tends to last around 1 year, and right now we are only about 4 months into this bear market so far. So for me personally, the market structure and timing is more important than these indicators, because those structures have repeatedly been consistent. So if we go based on this historical structure, what we should expect next is something like this. A counter trend rally up toward the bear market resistance band, likely sometime around March, followed by further downside later in the year as the bear market continues to play out. At the same time, a lot of indicators are oversold, so it would make sense for selling pressure to start to slow down, which we are already beginning to see. But at the end of the day, this is all probability. Nobody knows exactly what is going to happen next. But from my experience so far, and I'll be honest, I'm still new in the market and learning every day, history has been one of the most reliable guides we have. Much more reliable than indicators and random patterns you can draw to fit your argument basically. So the question now becomes, will Bitcoin continue to follow its historical cycle, or is this the moment it finally breaks it? Because if Bitcoin breaks this pattern, it could change everything, and that is exactly what we are going to explore in one of my coming videos. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe, comment down below what your opinion is and what I can do better. I'd love to hear from you guys, and remember, the markets don't reward those who try to predict the future, it rewards those who prepare for it. So whether Bitcoin follows history or rewrites it, make sure you're ready for both. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.